This is our Facebook Live series. This is our 5th episode where we come to you each week on Monday at 12:30 Eastern Time, where we can give some information about my views on health and what the newest research is on health and diet and supplementation and healing from chronic disease. That's my mission. That's my passion. That's what we do every single day. We practice functional nutritional medicine here. We also practice chiropractic here. And we're all about being as healthy as we can and being on as few medications as possible so that you can live a longer, healthier life. And while you're here with us, whether you're live or whether you're watching the replay, you can always enter comments in on the bottom. You can like the video if you like it. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. But don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't hesitate to enter information in there, and we'll either get back to you through email or through phone, or maybe the next week on the next Facebook Live we can cover that as well. So last week we talked about intermittent fasting, and that was clearly the most popular topic we've talked about in a long time. We had over 10,000 views, and many people contact us about intermittent fasting and how they can do it and how it can benefit them and what they need to do, what are the pitfalls. And keep those questions coming. You know, I'm happy to answer those. I'm happy to see that some people took it seriously and are beginning to do that. I think that some people are just happy to have permission not to have to eat breakfast, the most important meal of the day. So as I sit here, I haven't eaten lunch yet. And once I'm done with Facebook Live, I'm going to go and eat my lunch. So today, we're going to talk about eating more fat. We're actually talking about the ketogenic diet. And whether you've heard about this or not, it is a really awesome topic. I've been in and out of ketosis for the past 2 years, and it has been great for me. The times when I'm burning ketones, I feel the best. My brain works the best. I'm energetic, and life is good. In these past 2 years, I've had some injuries, broken bones, and some ligament and tendon damage and issues. So working out has been very difficult for me, but because I've been in and out of ketosis, I've been able to keep my weight, the ideal weight that I want to be, spared a lot of my muscle tissue, and when you work out and you're in ketosis, it's even better. So with ketosis, you can also do this along with intermittent fasting. It all works together, so you can get benefit upon benefit with these two strategies. So hopefully you'll look into this and maybe learn more about it. If you have questions about it, you can ask us as well. So what is ketosis? Well, ketosis is a situation in which your body has chosen an alternate fuel supply than glucose. So currently most people running around right now are burning glucose, or they're burning stored glucose, which was glycogen originally, and they're sugar burners essentially. Ketosis is a situation where our body has run out of sugar to burn and now has to go and get fat. And it goes into your fat cells and it burns them. Your liver creates these things called ketones by burning fat. And it's the ideal situation. So as far as English is concerned, it's basically percentages. So if in a ketosis diet, typically we'd have between 60 and 75% fat, 15 to 30% protein, and about 5 to 10% carbohydrate. So very low carbohydrate, moderate protein, so not high protein, moderate protein, and high fat. You may remember this from the old Atkins days, where the Atkins diet helped a lot of people lose weight. But it got some bad press, and it didn't work all the time because they back then didn't understand the whole protein connection to this. So if you go high protein, very low carb, high fat, it doesn't always work out as well. So you don't want too much protein either, because that can burn just like sugar burns. So we don't want to do that. And I'm going to teach you in this Facebook Live how you can get into a ketosis, how you can eat that way, the benefits of it, and the pitfalls you have to look out for. And we'll also cover some concerns that people might have about this way of eating. So the one thing to think about is if you have blood sugar concerns, if you're someone who is diabetic or pre-diabetic, or you have family history of diabetes, that person has to eat even lower carbohydrate and more fat and moderate protein as well. So the more insulin resistant you are, the lower your carbohydrate intake has to be. So for myself, I've measured myself through blood and through urine. I know what it takes for me to get into ketosis, and thankfully I'm not insulin resistant. My insulin levels are very low, and I've worked at that for the past 2 years. But the big questions are, why would you do this? What are the benefits of ketosis, and should you do it, and why would you do it? Well, the first reason is for weight management. Obesity is an epidemic out there. There's people who are struggling to lose weight. They're eating low-calorie diets. They're eating low-carbohydrate diets, and they're failing. Or maybe they've had some initial success, but they can't keep it that way. If you're overweight in any way, you have to look into ketosis and intermittent fasting. It works amazingly. So weight management is one of the biggest ones. The second one is, like we just talked about before, blood sugar. If you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, you can easily lower your blood glucose levels by eating this way. And it makes a lot of sense. If you're eating less carbohydrate, sugar, if you're eating less of that, your body will not have to produce as much insulin to store it away. So insulin sensitivity improves and blood glucose levels lower. It's a great way for a person who's a type 2 diabetic to be able to lower their medication and eventually go off of their medication. So ketosis is a way for us to do that. The third reason is neurological diseases. So there's been research that shows that ketosis can completely eradicate a person who might have seizures, or improve Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. MS has been shown to improve as well. These neurological based disorders do really, really well with ketogenic diets. And we can get into that another time, but our brain loves ketones. And when we lower and eliminate sugars from our life, and we eliminate the pasta, the starches, the breads, and we increase our fat, then you can see that happen. So if you know someone who's suffering with seizure disorders, who has epilepsy, or even concussions have been shown to improve much faster with ketosis, share this information with them. There's a lot of published research on that. I have some right here in my notes. In fact, I do have notes that I want to put onto my website somewhere so that people who are watching, if you're interested in having those notes, you can email us at monroewellnesscenter@gmail.com. We can send you those notes so you have the notes I'm talking about. It has some references on here, just so you understand that this is just not my opinion. This is researched stuff, things that I've learned from people who are out there doing research, scientists who are independent, who don't have anybody's pockets to line. They're actually just trying to do real research. I can leave that for you as well. So neurological disorders improve. Other aspects of this, blood test improvements. So there are many people out there who have high triglycerides. If you have any triglycerides over 100, in my opinion, they're too high. If they're 200, 300, 400, 600, they're very high. Now, there are some people who have hereditary familial high triglycerides, and those people, there's some limited things you can do about that. But for most people that are watching, if you have elevated triglycerides over 100, ketogenic diet. The reason why triglycerides elevate, even though most people, when you think about triglycerides, they are circulating fats. So one would think, well, if I eat more fat, then I'm going to have more triglycerides in my body. It's actually the opposite. It's glucose and starches that your body will take and try to store in your liver and your muscle cells. And if that storage is filled up, your body has to take that glucose, put it in the liver, and convert it to triglycerides. So lowering triglycerides is really a function of getting rid of those starchy carbohydrates. So that's, triglycerides are one of the things that will improve. Your HDLs, your good cholesterol, should improve when you go into ketosis. So that's another thing people want to look into. And we'll talk about concerns about cholesterol later on. But the question that most people might have, if you're considering doing or becoming a person who's on a ketogenic diet, is how do I do it? Well, we talked about the percentages before. Your fat percentages, protein, carbohydrate. I'm probably about 75% fat, maybe 70% fat. And when I say fat, people always say, oh, the good fats, right? Well, yeah, the good fats. I mean, we're talking avocados, coconut, olive oil, and believe it or not, even saturated fats. In fact, the polyunsaturated fats that we call in the medical field PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats we've been told are good and healthy for us, but it's actually the opposite. The vegetable oils, the cottonseed oil, those are the ones that are really bad for us. In fact, those polyunsaturated fatty acids have been shown to slow metabolism. They've been shown to decrease your production of thyroid hormone. So if you're someone who has hypothyroidism, polyunsaturated fatty acids are really bad for you, and they're going to make you feel more tired and make you gain more weight. They've also been shown to inhibit detoxification. So you can't detox your poisons that are inside of your body when you eat more of those polyunsaturated fatty acids. PUFAs have also been shown to decrease your ability to make progesterone, to make androgens. So that's the testosterone, again, that we want to build. But they have been shown to increase estrogen. And estrogen will cause our body to release even more polyunsaturated fats, and it'll be a vicious cycle, and we end up with estrogen dominance. So the polyunsaturated fatty acids you don't want. So stick to those few things I talked about. Coconut oil, avocados, olive oil, and other saturated fats. Saturated fats are not, more and more research comes to show us that that's not evil, that is not bad for us. We don't have to worry about that. So we want to be able to eat the right amount of protein, the right amount of fat, and the right amount of carbs. So when we're talking about carbs, we talk in net carbs. So net carbohydrate would be, you look at the label of whatever food you're eating, it'll say total carbohydrate. Let's say that it's 10, and then you look for fiber. If fiber is at 5, you subtract the carbohydrate from the fiber, and you come out with 5 net carbs. That would be the amount of carbohydrate you're having. And you look at your total caloric intake for that day, and you can figure out what your percentage is. And there's an amazing tool that is out there that I suggest you use. It will be in the notes, or I'll hopefully put it on this site somewhere, where you'll be able to click on it, and you can write down every single thing that you eat. It's really easy. So if you most of the things are pre-programmed in there anyway. So it just takes a few seconds. You type in everything you eat, and you can see at the end of the week how your percentages are. So I suggest the first week of doing this, don't even try to eat more fat. Just eat the way you've been eating, and write down in that program I'm going to give you, write down exactly how much you're eating, and you'll see at the end of the day and the end of the week, I had X amount of fat, I had X amount of protein, and I had X amount of net carbs. So you can see where you are. And if you're not losing weight and you're gaining weight, I will bet you that you probably have a higher carbohydrate intake than you should have. If you have elevated triglycerides, it's probably the same thing. If you have diabetes, it's probably the same thing. If you're sick, it's really, odds are you're not doing things the right way. So use that nutrient counter I'm going to give you so you can log all of your information. Once you've done that, then you can begin to modify things and change it. You can begin to increase your fat, lower your carbohydrate, probably going to have to lower your protein intake possibly as well, but you can begin to get yourself into that situation. Along with intermittent fasting, that'll work out great. If you are somebody who isn't healthy, or you're on a lot of prescription medication, or you have certain health concerns, contact our office if you're concerned about doing this first. I mean, this is just information I'm giving on this Facebook Live. This is not a doctor-patient relationship right now. So obviously you have to use your own cautions and do things the right way, but don't hesitate to ask us if you have questions. So the final thing you'd have to do once you're in ketosis is to make sure that you're having adequate minerals. When you're eating a ketosis type diet, it will cause you slightly diuretic, so you'll essentially be urinating a little bit more, and you can deprive yourself of minerals. So adding minerals is really important. We have ionic minerals that we use that we put in water. You just put about 20 drops a day of these things in there. Makes the water taste good. My kids love it when they go play soccer and baseball. We add tons of minerals to their water, so that way those are the real electrolytes that you need, not the Gatorade type electrolytes. So in a ketosis diet or a fasting diet, you want to make sure you have enough minerals as well. And if you have questions about that, you can email us as well. So people have a lot of concerns when they hear about this. They've been, fat has been vilified for so long. When we talk about eating a higher fat diet, people begin to really panic about it. But if you can really look into the research that's being done, you'll realize that, hey, this is really not such a bad thing. In fact, there's a book I recommend you get, and it's called The Big Fat Surprise. And it tells you all about the beginning in Ansel Keys. Dr. Ansel Keys was the first guy to vilify this. And it goes through the progression of time and shows exactly what happened to cause that. And there are a lot of monetary institutions that stand to benefit by telling us certain things and essentially lying to us. So read that book and then and do some more research on ketogenic diet, and you'll be able to learn that this is not something that we have to be worried about. I mean, as far as saturated fats being bad and as far as total fats being bad, carbohydrate intake has been shown to be the thing that drives particle size. So if you eat high carbohydrate diet, your particle size gets smaller, and those are the more fearsome particles that we deal with cholesterol. If you're eating a high fat, low carbohydrate diet, it drives the particle size higher. The HDLs improve. Even the LDL size and LDL-C tends to get bigger. So it's a safer, more cardioprotective situation as well. So there's lots of reasons to do it, and it's actually a great way to eat. If you're a person who's low fat and low carb, that's almost impossible to sustain that, and it's very unhealthy for you to do that. Low fat, low carb is almost all protein or starvation, and that's not a good way to do it. So when you're eating this type of diet, you're allowed to eat fats. So some of the foods I eat almost all the foods I eat are delicious. They taste really, really good. They're satisfying. And when you're in ketosis, you're not hungry, and your brain is working amazingly. So that's one of the benefits I notice a lot when I'm in ketosis, which I'm probably in right now as we speak. My brain is working, I'm awake, I'm alert, and I feel really good. It's a noticeable difference between when I'm in it and when I'm not. And hopefully one of these days you'll experience that yourself if you take this plunge and decide to try to learn a little bit more about ketosis and even do it. So that's all I really have to say about ketosis right now. There's a guy, if you want to go onto YouTube, you can learn about ketosis. One of the researchers, his name is Stephen Finney, with a P, P-H. He's written a book on ketosis. He does a lot of lectures on YouTube, so you can actually learn about those things and learn, really get yourself a little more educated in this so it's not so foreign to you. But if you put this together, ketosis with last week's intermittent fasting, and you do those together, I'll bet you're going to be healthier. And that's my goal. I want you to be healthier. I want you to live a good, healthy life. And hopefully us coming to you each week will do that. Now remember, if you want notes to this, email our office at monroewellnesscenter@gmail.com, and we can send you a link to that. If you have questions about this, don't hesitate to contact us. If you're local and you want to stop in and you need help, whether it's from nutrition or supplementation or chiropractic, stop in and we can take care of that with you. If you're a long distance away, then we have distance programs as well. We talk on the phone or on Skype or on FaceTime, and we're able to run blood work that way, and we are able to get you healthier. So I do see a question here right now. We'll answer one question and then we'll move on. Is ketosis okay for type 1 diabetics? Ketosis is definitely okay for a type 1 diabetic, but not to do on your own. So there is a situation called ketoacidosis, and the only people that have to be concerned with ketoacidosis are type 1 diabetics. So if you are a type 2 diabetic and your body is making insulin in any amount, you're not going to get into ketoacidosis. So in almost every situation, you're fine doing it. With type 1 diabetes, you have to be very, very careful. And the concern is that we would have a potentially life-threatening situation with ketoacidosis. So type 1, you definitely need help. I would like to have both your medical doctor on board with that, and then if you worked with us, we would make sure that you were safe and did it the right way. So yes, is it okay for type 1 diabetics? Yes, it is, but with type 1 diabetes, you have to be super careful, the most careful. All other cases, you're not going to get into ketoacidosis. You want your ketones to go up. There'll probably be, a good number is about 4. Ketoacidosis is about 13. And it's measured in millimoles of beta hydroxybutyrate is what the one of the ketones, the main one that they measure. So yeah, thank you for asking that question, John. And if anybody else has questions, you can leave them as well, and I will send them back. We're pretty good about answering those questions also. And if you need help, don't hesitate to ask us. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We will be on again next week at 12:30, and not sure what we're going to talk about yet. But if you have ideas for us as well, don't hesitate to shoot us a message. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.